Okay.
And it's red, represents the heart.
Meat. It's my favorite color, by the way. Okay. I think
She's crazy.
today we thought we would talk about modern day relationships and how should we do that? We can get a woman's perspective and a man's perspective today. Mind you, you're talking to Justin and Janae, so maybe we have some different perspectives.
And we're both single. We're experts.
We know what we're talking about. But yeah, I thought we would talk about that. Like, how should we go about dating? And I can like ask you some questions because I don't know if I should ask people out. That's like always a thing for me. It's like, and I feel like if I ask a guy out, it's not going to work out immediately. Like, I feel like it's an omen. Like,
Right.
me showing interest is immediately like,
A turn off.
yeah.
Right, to
And
them.
it just never works out whenever I like ask them out.
Right.
But it also doesn't work out when they ask me out. So, yeah, it's just an omen either way. Okay, so first of all, should I ask guys out if I'm interested in them? And everybody's like, everybody's different. I'm like, baloney.
Yeah,
Give
and-
me a one answer so I know what to do.
And
One
like-
size fits all. Every man's the same.
I think part of the reason this came up is I was speaking with some friends recently, some girls single in the area that were like, guys don't really ask girls out anymore. Like, I was like, I don't know if any like people really steadily asking people out. And like, there's both sides, right? Girls and guys, but our culture's sort of producing people that aren't really good at socializing anymore. So girls are now getting to the point to like, well, freak, I want a family and I want a relationship. Like, do I have to ask these guys out? You know, my point in bringing this up is not like all men are losers now and blah, blah, blah.
No, because there really are amazing guys out there.
Yeah, I think our culture has. Thank you, the ladies. But I think our culture's made it that we don't know how to connect. Whether it's entertainment so readily available, our reward systems are just wired by phones and this and that like the need for connection sometimes can be filled with. I think about when I get home, I'm exhausted. I'm like, I'm gonna scroll my phone easily for an hour. I hate when I get those notifications like, this is what your screen time was last week. It's down 40%, and it's 8 hours now. I'm like, what was it last week? Holy crap. And I was
I
like,
don't have those notifications.
that's better. It makes you feel better.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't even know how much time I spent. Yeah.
It can be painful. And maybe thoughts on, like, what are some of the factors maybe that men or women, I have my thoughts maybe why men are not, but like, are women just as lacking in this? I mean, girls should be allowed to ask, but I think guys should be the ones initiating.
Okay, so that's one thought.
Yeah.
You personally think guys should be initiating.
For the most part, right? Like, girls shouldn't be, I don't believe in the whole, like, I'm going to be like the flower on the side of the wall and, like, I'm just going to be hot. And then you come and
That's
ask
what
me
I
out.
have found is, like, at least with a lot of the people that I associate with, I feel like people are going to be so mad at me. Like, I feel like oftentimes girls are like, guys are so dumb. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's asking me out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you literally spend every single day in your house. You don't even leave except for work. Like, how are they going to find you?
I didn't know you existed.
Like, they literally have to come and knock doors to meet girls when the girls are just in their apartments complaining.
Right.
And I have a problem with that. If you're complaining about something, do something. Don't keep, it's okay to vent and complain. I do think that.
She's an advocate for it.
Only up to a few times. Then you need to change something.
Right.
You can't just complain about it for years, right? Where girls are like, guys are just dumb. They don't ask me out. And I'm like, guys, I'm sorry to say. And this is one of the biggest fears of mine that I just discovered last week. I am afraid of being unseen. Maybe that's why I went into the entertainment industries, because I need people to know that I exist and I need to prove my existence and my worth and that I deserve to be alive. I'm always fighting for the fact that I'm alive. Isn't that kind of crazy? But with guys, I think that's the case. Like, we're afraid that we're not going to be seen.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we take ourselves out of the game by not even like trying, because then it's me rejecting myself first, not you rejecting me,
Right. I think the pain of rejection is almost higher now in our generation.
It is painful.
We ourselves are so out there. Like, no generation had social media. Like, our kids now will be able to look back and be like, oh, I see everything you've ever documented almost every day, if I wanted, from age whenever you got a cell phone, and before then we had your parents filming you every 2 seconds. So now it's like, oh my gosh, when you get rejected, it feels like you're being rejected more fully.
You're seen.
Right.
That's like the thing is like, you want to be seen, but you don't want the risk of being seen.
Yeah, and to your point, I'm like, I think that's a basic need. It's not like, and we do feel that, especially for girls. I mean, guys are in the same boat, but they want to be seen. They want to feel protected. Part of being seen is like, yes, you are the most beautiful girl I know, but I know you. Like, I know who you are. And that's why I say, if girls think a personality type is just being attractive, that's not a personality type. That's very surface level. And that's how we date now. You know, like, let me look at pictures, and then like, hopefully you write something funny in there. And there's no actually interacting connection there.
Yeah.
And now that doesn't work, but you have to jump quickly to that connection phase, or then, you know, everyone's like, I want to marry my best friend. Well,
you got to develop a
no one
best
develops
friendship
relationships
then.
like that. Yeah.
So what would you be looking for, like, as a guy looking for a relationship? You're looking for a best friend. What does that entail for you? Like, is it different for you? For most guys, what does that entail?
In my opinion, this is me, right?
Mm-hmm. This is how to win Justin's heart.
Yeah, we got to put the phones down, right? Like, I honestly, I've done social media, or I've done like the dating apps, and I've gone on 2 dates from it. Those women are great, right? It wasn't a natural way for me to get to know someone.
Okay,
right?
so that was one thing that didn't work for you.
Right,
was
but
the
what
online
works
dating.
is creating some kind of space, whether it's a game night or an activity, right? People love being invited and being seen by other people in that sense, right? Like, hey, come to the sing. It doesn't mean there's going to be a romantic connection. You don't even know if you can be friends. And now we're starting all relationships off with, and it's
Can I picture a life with them?
Like, I saw a picture of them. Are we a cute couple together? Will we look good in pictures together, rather than like, I don't even know if I like talking to that person, you know, or hanging out with them, or, you know, if we have the same values. Like, that's not seen in a picture. And part of that is you experience that from spending time around that person.
Yeah.
I think creating those spaces, and girls and guys, should a girl ask a guy out? Maybe not necessarily you have to do that. You can invite them to spend time with you and do something, and then they get to see you and actually become attracted to who you are.
But I have invited many male species to my house or whatever activity, and then years go by and nothing happens. Like, a couple years ago, I was like, I'm just gonna let them come to me, you know? And I, like, you know, I dress nice. I'll put myself out there, whatever. Not that that's like important, but nobody asked me out. I was like, I'm only gonna date somebody who's pursuing me. I did not go out forever, for years, you know? So it's kind of like, well, where's the guys asking the girls out?
Right.
Do
like,
you
what
see
events?
that? I mean, some guys, I
slide
can't.
into the DMs. That's what I hear about.
We do get some DMs, you know, and that's cool. I just, like, if I'm hinting at a guy, like, I'm inviting you over, I'm inviting you to go for a walk with me, and they're like, nah, I just want to take your dog on a walk. I'm like, wait, you missed it.
Nothing wrong with that.
That was me.
Hey, that's a good lure.
That's like, how do you hint more? Do you just ask them out?
Right, like, how do you get, and that's where I'm like, I wonder where our generation has, and maybe on this side now, the men, like, why are we not getting to the point of asking out? What do we think a date entails? I think maybe we shouldn't make it too big, where it's like,
so much
we're
pressure.
getting married.
Yeah,
right?
it is
like,
so much pressure.
Where really, you'd go on dates with someone to, one, if you establish some type of, like, we connect, we have friendship.
Yeah.
Like, let me be around you and see how that is.
I love that.
You know?
Like, and I think some people have a hard time with the idea of going out on a date if they're like, it's not going to lead anywhere. And it's like, okay, well, what is the purpose of dating? Like, and I think it might be different for different people, but I almost want to venture to say that it's actually good to go out on dates with people who are just friends, so you can, like, practice being in that date environment and get to know somebody that you enjoy and that uplifts you.
No,
it's not just like you go out on dates. Right. I mean, I guess, like, the end goal is to find a partner, but I mean, that's one way to think about it. I think there's maybe two ways of dating. The first one's like, I'm going to date to find my person. And I think the second was, I'm going to date to learn about myself and to learn about other people. And if I find my person in the process, that's great. Right. And maybe it's like
and
a mixture of two.
You build great relationships in there.
And you build great relationships, because truly what we need as humans is connection, you know? Like, you don't just need, like, one person to fulfill all your needs. You need connection. And maybe you find that being friends with many people or just, like, a handful of people. But I do think that there is, like, a lot of pressure. And I actually thought that, because as I was thinking about asking somebody out last week, I was like, well, I've only talked to him like 2 or 3 times. And I think he's, like, really, he seems really kind, really interesting. I'd love to ask him out. I was like, but if I ask him out, he's not going to be interested, because that's an omen. And if I ask him out and he's interested and I'm not interested, then I'm going to feel, like, bad. Like, it was like immediately there was like so much stuff attached to just the thought of, hey, I'd like to get to know this person. I wish I could go out with them.
Right.
You know? Needless to say, I did not ask him out. I never do. But I did make a little game night for us. And I
thought that was good.
I invited
That
some
was
people
good.
that
There
are
was people.
interesting to me. So
And I mean, that's not even, I think people overdo like, hey, I'd be interested in you. And people are like, whoa, what does that mean? Like, we're not going to get married, anything like that. But like, just get to know you better. Obviously, you can have romantic interest, but you don't even know if that romantic interest could be there. And I think too much of that comes from like the Hollywood. You see someone like, oh my gosh, they're amazing. And so I think what people also associate with romantic, or if a guy is like, hey, I'm romantically interested, they don't know how to connect, like build that connecting phase. So no trust is built. And when they do, they go on one date and they want to get physical right away. Like, oh, a date means that like you make out on the first date or something, or hookup culture. And you're like, wait, what happened to the whole step of, wow, I got to know you. And I'm like, man, this person's amazing. Where those other parts come because of connection, you know?
yeah, absolutely. Like you want that for the relationship,
Right.
because it kind of like grows
it's a
into
natural
that.
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can go into even deeper about why people are seeking connection like that and not in this healthy way.
Like in an emotional, and I think it's because for some of us, it's scarier to be vulnerable emotionally than physically. So then we're like, I'll just go for like the physical route. I personally would rather be physically vulnerable than emotionally vulnerable.
Yeah, it feels safer. And that's why people will be like, hey, we made out. I'm like, why doesn't he want to connect? Or like, he never talked to me ever again. Because it's like,
this just happened to me with this other guy that I went out with multiple times. And I'm sorry, Mom, don't watch.
I told you not to talk about this, Ganae.
But yeah, like we made out a few times and then he just like kind of pieced out. Well, we were like, maybe we'll go out. I wanted to go out again. And he's like, oh yeah, maybe we'll go out this weekend. And then like I didn't hear from him again.
I've never heard that story before. It's a common thing. Not with you, with people in general. With men.
Yeah, we've never heard. That's never happened before. I was like actually there. I feel like pretty healthy. Like I'm showing up and I feel like I'm happy to like do work with a person and like work through stuff. And I don't think he was there. Like I don't think he was ready for that because that does require, showing maybe some of like the messier parts of yourself to a person so that you can grow in relationship with them, and that does get scary. So I do hear that. And if he like wasn't ready for that, that's okay. Communication would have been great for that though. So that I wasn't just like waiting around for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't we go out? And I decided to wait and see, like, is he going to initiate anything? And he didn't. And so then when I reached out, he was like, are you mad at me? I was like,
You're like, no, I'm pissed.
Yeah, so I think it is a sense of vulnerability. But when we create an emotionally safe environment for each other, like just in general, for our friendships, for our family, for our romantic relationships, then we feel a little bit more comfortable being vulnerable and sharing like our true feelings. Like it's taken a few years for us to get to the point where today I was like able to say like I felt unimportant, you know, because I think years ago.
And I always encourage it.
You
because it is important. Because I know you're scared sometimes that like if I say this, I'm going to hurt him.
Yeah, because
and I'm like, yo,
I'm
bring it on.
Your feelings, and thus you'll want to stop hanging out with me.
I work in customer success. People are angry at me all day.
But I'm also learning, and this is changing though as I learn about myself. I am worth sharing my feelings. Like if my feelings, my true feelings, and I make you uncomfortable, and even when I presented them in like a respectful way, then that's a reflection of you or like whoever I'm talking to, right? But you have space for me to like share my true feelings, and we have our relationship has taken a few years to like grow to this point. So I think maybe that's like one of the things we're missing in at least in my social circle is like we kind of expect trust and vulnerability to like come immediately. And like trust kind of takes time to develop and understanding how a person takes time to develop. But I think that's like only one of the problems. Like finding people is a thing, asking people out is a thing.
Right.
Developing trust is another thing, There's like a few aspects.
And going back to that wanting to be seen, girls still want to be seen and men want to be seen. And I think in America, a lot of times we don't know how to be seen. We're like, oh my gosh, if I show any weakness, like that means
any
like
toxic masculinity.
Right. I'm going to be rejected. I mean, girls can ask themselves the question, I'm like, am I rejecting guys because of, weakness? But like guys being physical with someone and never talking to them makes the girl feel very unseen. Yeah. You're like, so my worth is this. You don't even know what I like or, and it's not to like rag on, that one individual. I think that's just our culture has gone in that direction. And it's almost encouraged other guys to be like, oh, did you get some? And you're like, yeah, that I didn't connect with anybody. That was trashy.
Yes,
You know?
and you don't feel good. And
No.
you walk away from that experience feeling lesser than rather than more.
Right.
And like I think when we have good connection, like even if it's a little bit uncomfortable connection, like discussing things that you want to work through, if it's still connection that was like respectful, then you do walk away feeling hopeful in a sense, you know?
It's true. Not even just romantic relationships, but I think in general, I've noticed with some guy friends too, we're struggling being vulnerable.
Our society has conditioned you guys saying like everything on the TV screens where you're just like macho men that, you know, hold your family together and nothing affects you. Like I look at like 007 and I'm like, no way would you be running around on that little sleeping with that many people, beating up that many people and not crying about it. Yeah. Like that would affect.
Sorry, James Bond.
Sorry, Daniel Craig. Actually, I think he did cry in one of his films. And that was.
He did.
Yeah.
And that's when girls were like, yes, emotions.
Yes.
And I think
true. That
maybe
is when
guys
girls are like, ooh.
Yeah, maybe guys are like, oh, if I do that, I'm not going to be respected. They want to be respected, and their guy friends are not going to respect them.
By their guy friends?
Yeah, and like, I mean, going back to the whole Italian thing, I went to Italy this past summer, and like my Italian cousins were way more okay with being vulnerable and like just kind of real. And I think it comes a little bit from that culture.
Okay, great.
Should we wrap up?
Should we wrap this up?
And that's why you need a detox and eat more. Just kidding.
Has
nothing to do with this.
I do think it's attractive when men show emotions. And I think men like when women show that because it gives them, you know, they're like, I will be your person. You're safe with me. You know, I think we are very, yeah, like I think that we're different, but that we are like the same at the same time. Like we just want to be seen. When we're vulnerable, we want to be safe. And I think we think about each other like all the time. We all want to go out on dates. We're just trying to figure out how to do it.
We want those close friendships. We want relationships. We want healthy relationships. And I think if we step back and look at what is keeping me personally, like I was telling Ganae, I'm like, I need to get off my phone a little more, right? And it doesn't mean I have to like cut it out and I have to go live in the woods, right?
That sounds nice.
That's one little thing I can do. And I find like I change that by 2%. I connect with people 2% better that day.
Oh, I love that. What's something that I can do? I think I'm doing great.
Yeah, I'm perfect. And that's the moral of this podcast.
What is something that I should do?
I mean, you were talking about how you notice when you're in person with people that it's easy to like pull up a phone or like when you're in public.
Yeah. I've kind of stopped trying to pull my phone out and like waiting in lines and things like that.
And it kind of forces the brain to be like, where do I receive satisfaction? It looks at humans around them and you're like, you're probably a cool person. I'm notorious for talking to people in hot tubs. I'm like, what, I'm going to sit with this person sitting like 2 feet away from me and we're all just like...
Where are you finding hot tubs? I want to go hot tubbing.
In Florida.
Okay, so maybe I'll think about asking a guy out. Maybe that's what I'll do. You'll do less time on your phone.
Yeah.
I'll maybe ask a guy out.
Connect better with people.
I love that. So that we can develop connection with people. Or like maybe hosting like a friend thing or something so that I can connect to people in person. Yeah. I love you. Thank you for being here today. Everybody, go check out Justin's channel, J&J Studios. Is that right?
Yep, J&J Studios.
And ARC Studios, thank you so much for having us here today.
They're the best.
And for letting Justin and I just talk. We could have gone on forever. So grateful for you guys. Okay, thanks you guys. Goodbye.
Bye.
The end. Okay, so I gotta ask somebody out. What are you doing this Friday?